Hey everybody, welcome back to Sounds Like a Drum, Cadence Independent Media production. If you're just joining us, we are deep in hack mode around here, and we are doing a continuation of something we did in a recent video involving the floor tom, but we're moving it to the bass drum today. One of our favorite kinds of hack that we come across here are things that are not super invasive and that you can leave in there if you like it and not kind of set it and forget it. And this is definitely one of those things. We were surprised at how effective it was in the floor tom. We had a couple of inquiries, and also we were thinking about it already, doing it to the bass drum, because we're talking about getting rid of the basketball-y, clangy overtone issue. And hanging a piece of t-shirt inside of the drum is what we did to the floor tom. And it made a much larger impact on the sound than we were expecting. And in my life, the bass drum is the culprit most of the time if you're trying to manage that kind of weird, plasticky overtone situation. So it made sense to try to do it to that drum too. So before we get into this, this is our normal 22-inch bass drum here. We have the same EQ4 UV head on the batter side, EQ3 ported coated on the front, and nothing inside of it. What we're going for here is first to really get a clear demonstration of what we're talking about when we talk about basketball-y sounds, because it does occur to us occasionally that not everybody has experienced this or maybe has literally never played basketball. So it's worth making sure that you have a really clear understanding of what it is that we're trying to get rid of once we do this. Now, if you are familiar with this sound, there's plenty of it in there. It's really kind of ringing out. It sounds kind of plasticky, which is generally speaking not what we want out of our bass drums. We're looking for tone and thump and presence and things like that, generally. Just to show you that this isn't a tuning issue, this is mainly a wide open bass drum, particularly if it's ported kind of issue. We're going to drop the batter down a bunch. It was a little bit on the high side for a 22 just then, and we're going to drop it down to more in the range that we would use for like a pop or a rock kind of sound, and see where that sits with the drum at that tuning. So as you can see, this is a head with a bit of pre-muffling done to it. It has a ring inside. The front head has a bit of a ring around the edge as well. These are meant to make modern sounds. And right now it's giving us a lot of stuff that we don't necessarily want. And normally we would get felt strips out or we'd put a pillow in there or something. But today we're going to try out this t-shirt shtick. Now, the way that we did it in the floor tom, we have gravity on our side because it's a vertically mounted drum, so we just hung it from two lugs on the inside. We took the screws out and kind of screwed it to the inside of the drum. With this drum, we're actually going to put it more like a tabletop going through the center of the drum, because since it's a 10-lug drum, the two lugs that are level with the floor basically are the ones to either side. So we're going to get inside of there, we're going to screw this, this piece of cut-up t-shirt straight across the inside of the drum. Just like with the floor tom, it's not touching the heads at all. There is no direct contact. This is about interrupting airflow and modifying the reflectivity of the inside of the drum to dissipate, crush some of those kind of clangy overtones. Be sure to stick around to the very end when we're going to do a fast back-to-back comparison of all of these things. So let's jump inside the drum before we listen to it to see what it is that we have just done. We cut the back of a t-shirt out and basically made a square. And then we took one mounting screw off of each of the outermost lugs of the drum and just poked holes in the shirt with a screwdriver. I mean, this is super duper DIY. and then made sure that it was taut while we measured out, how far we needed it to go, because we don't want it to be like hanging like a limp noodle in there. And so it's not stretched super tight, but it is in there. And we just basically screwed it down to the shell and put the head back on. That's basically it. There's not a lot to this, which is what makes the result so astounding. All right, so we're back at the initial tuning with the higher batter head. Let's see what happened. Among tiny DIY things to do to a drum, that is a big difference, particularly in the close mics where this kind of overtone issue tends to live, primarily if you're going in the port to try to get the beater attack, the contact sound. And if you're experiencing this and you want to get rid of it and you use EQ to get rid of that part of the range of the drum, you're also going to lose a lot of that attack, which is sort of, shooting yourself in the foot a little bit, because the whole idea of having a hole in the front head is to be able to have access to the sound of the beater and not just the woof of the front head. Immediately, this is more usable, more malleable. Compression does wonderful things with it. And the drum, honestly, where I'm sitting sounds louder because I think that the lower overtones are getting out of the drum more effectively. Basically, they're not having to fight against the higher parts of that sound. And the fact that there's nothing on the heads means that we're not actually muffling the drum. We're not muffling resonance. We're just modifying the flow of reflectivity inside of the drum, basically. Now we're going to drop it down to the lower tuning. Let's check it out. Worked like a charm here too. That part of the sound of the batter head is basically erased, which is unbelievable considering that this cost us 5 minutes and an old t-shirt. I have to say too that, it's fairly reasonable to think that if we had done this vertically in the drum with maybe like these lugs here or at some other angle, you would get a not dissimilar response because we're just dealing with airflow. It's an invisible hack. Basically, like you can sort of see it through the hole because of the way that we did it, but this is a wonderful, like one more thing where like nobody knows that you did it in there, thinking back to the tinfoil thing and other things that we've tried here. There's so much you can get out of so little. It's fun every time. Now, one of the most interesting and fun things about musical instruments, and especially drums for me, is how much physics there is involved in it, and how we as humans oftentimes kind of want a fast fix for things and have a bit of a more is more attitude about it, like especially with things like moon gel and gaff tape and stuff like that. And things like this are an amazing reminder that you can be at the mercy of the physics of the instrument, or you can spend some time just trying things and seeing what the result is, because there are so many different forces at work when you strike a drum with two heads on it. One head is already a whole thing, but when you've got two heads working together with a shell and a beater and all of this stuff, or a stick, there are so many things that you can shift 5% and completely modify the sound of the drum. It doesn't have to be a pillow, like it's true what they say, like if you're a hammer then everything's a nail, but with something like this you can be really precise, really specific, and also just have an adventure with it and learn about the instrument and about the physics and the personality of it in ways that are unexpected for me, that's for sure. All right, here we go. Back to back time. Everything we did. Now, if that's not enough for you, we're going to have a bunch more stuff about this on the Patreon. The playing demos are at Acrolite level and above. Please check it out. There's going to be a lot of extra content, particularly this season. We've been shooting a lot more extra content than we have in the past to really make sure that the Patreon is worthwhile for everybody that's involved. All right, so effective hack. I am super amped to do this to my 18 at home that has unported heads on both sides, because I'm wondering now what's going to happen with no port, just from a player's perspective, like the idea that maybe I can get away without felt strips and have a boomier sound that's a little more controlled. You know, the ceiling is just like, it's limitless. It's crazy. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you find out about our new videos. We are doing many videos a week, especially if you're on the Patreon. We have a lot of stuff coming out and an extraordinary amount of Patreon exclusive content in the works that'll be coming out over the next few months. We're super psyched about it. Please jump over there, follow the link below, see if you can help out, or at the very least, check it out and learn what you can from it. And lastly, if anybody has done this to a bass drum, this is definitely one that I'd never heard of until we did it to the floor tom, and I am psyched about this one. So let me know if you've done it before, but also let me know if you try it out and what it does for your drum, including the size of the drum and the heads that you're using, because I feel like this is one that stuff is going to affect a lot. And like the rest of the experiments we do here, you know, it's always full of surprises, and we'll keep them coming.